the two leaders. We will be discussing these developments with our guests today. We have with us Yasir Masood, who is an expert on international affairs and is also very well versed on China affairs. Yasir, thank you so much for joining us today. So this meeting between President Trump and President Xi has ended the tensions that were going on, the trade war between the two countries, where some people are accusing President Trump of using economic warfare against other countries to further U.S. interests. What do you say about this recent development that the two leaders just had this meeting, and what can we expect going forward?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think in the context of this economic aggression which has been going on since last year, because this trade war and trade friction or this kind of tactics, it was initiated last year, and the whole world was quite worried about this, because you see, when we talk about economic accentuation or economic development of any country, these two are actually giants in terms of economic progress, because United States of America is the biggest economy and China is following that. So in that context, the world was witnessing and looking towards these two countries with a different spectacle, because the major chunk of its trade is actually benefiting the rest of the country.
Right.
And we have seen some kind of scenarios where, for example, like in the May last year, United States of America has imposed tariffs on China's import, and that was about $50 billion US. The problem was that every now and then US has been blaming China that actually China is actually doing this kind of an economic aggression or an economic theft, or maybe China is using all the resources. But the story is otherwise, because it has been the US which has been backtracking up till now. But as far as this recent development is concerned, I believe sanity must prevail, and it's a very positive step taken in the right direction.
Yes.
Because if it would have been carried on like this, there were new connotations to the economic progress or the economic interdependence of the rest of the world.
Exactly.
And it has been shuffling and shifting from one region to another.
Right.
For example, now we see that there is a tilt of the whole Europe or European markets towards China, and under the garb of this America's first policy, actually United States of America is actually giving a big threat to its own market because
Right.
of such policies.
Absolutely. So now if we move on to Huawei, that was one of the firms that was deeply affected by President Trump's stand on Chinese companies. Previously, due to the FIRMA law, which requires foreign purchases of critical technology to be vetted, they had blacklisted ZTE and Rusal. They were blacklisted firms, and there was a threat to Huawei as well that they may be blacklisted, but now they're going to be easing up on Huawei a little bit. Is that correct?
Yes, I think it's also a positive step, because you see, when it comes to technology, I think it's a technological warfare as well. Now, I would like to take you back to the point that actually all these Western countries and United States of America, being a champion of economic globalization, they have initiated this economic globalization so that certain countries can get benefit, and because of such policies, the rest of the countries, the rest of the developing states get its due share. Now we have seen that after the depression of 2009 and 2010, we have seen a trend which is completely the otherwise, and this is being labeled or named as economic globalization.
Yes.
And why this is happening? Because these Western countries, including United States of America, is now witnessing that a country which is also part and parcel of economic globalization is exceeding in a technology. So it's a technological warfare, but definitely it's unfair, because you see, if a country is part and parcel and is in compliance of World Trade Organization, IMF, and the other international international financial institutions, every country has the right to exceed in its technology and to go towards progress.
Yes.
If China is doing that, now the same countries who have been raising the slogans of economic globalization is turning against China because a country is exceeding in a technology. That's where it is hitting the most. And it's also connected because it's not only Huawei, it is about that 5G technology, it is about AI technology, artificial intelligence. So it will revolutionize the whole concept of the technology and industry. And that's where I think United States of America is being threatened. And
Huawei
imposing
is still blocked from participating in the developing of its 5G wireless networks in the US. It's still being blocked, even though the talks are going to be resumed. So meaning it's not completely given them kind of a free hand. There are still limits on what the Chinese companies can do. It's not as if they've said, okay, go ahead and, you know, carry on your business as before.
Even if we see in the terms of that what Huawei has been, you know, the China's technology has given a lot to the rest of the states. For example, like to the developing state. Even if we see like our region in Pakistan, you see this is a whole game and you know, a confrontation of exclusiveness and protectionism. Under the ambit of this America's First policy, Donald Trump has actually resorted to protectionism and exclusiveness. And whereas we see that what China is offering to the world is openness, China is offering to the world is the community of shared destiny. And through the initiation of Belt and Road Initiative, which is such a gigantic initiative of its own kind and specially tailored for the developing and underdeveloping states. Also, we know as a matter of fact that under BRI, you know, because of CPAC, we are expecting that there would be technology transfer from China. So you see, China is rising, China is on the move. So these are all those tactics, and we also call it hybrid warfare tactics, that how to impede China's progress and China's rise. There are other, you know, manipulations and techniques which United States of America is using against China on the South China Sea. They are also using, you know, these kind of creating geopolitical tensions in this region, like its presence in Afghanistan. So if we put two and two together, we come to know that these are all those tactics by which United States of America tries to halt the progress and rise of China.
Right, and basically the talks had nearly collapsed back in May because the US was, they were accusing Beijing that they were exploiting their companies for espionage, the companies like Huawei. So they had kind of come to a stalemate, which is good that now they're resuming again so that all the tension can be reduced. There are other companies, Chinese companies, which are largely affected in the US. For example, the ones that are on the Securities and Exchange Commission in New York, such as Alibaba. That's a $400 billion company. Those are huge companies, and now they're looking for alternatives for their financing in places like Hong Kong, because apparently Alibaba is they're considering a float in Hong Kong now to have alternative sources of financing. And similarly, other companies are also adapting, even though, okay, the trade talks are going to resume, but companies have already started adapting to these hostilities and found alternative ways of doing business outside of, you know, for example, American firms are looking at other manufacturers. So things have already been shaken up quite a bit.
See, you know, since the inception of Donald Trump, you know, since he reigned its power, we have seen that bizarre kind of policies have been initiated. And the other worst part is that once the different policies were initiated, then United States of America backtracked from those policies as well. They, you know, quite frequently they have been taking U-turn. The problem is that, as I mentioned before, that the market, the global market is dependent on these two economic powers. Now, it is hitting the most to United States of America because lots of American brands, I can name it, that they are now shifting towards China. Let's, for example, like Dell, you know, it's a popular brand. Now they have opened up around more than 11 of its outlets in China. In terms of clothing, there are lots of companies which are now moving towards China. So
moving their headquarters there.
Their headquarters there. Also, you know, you named Hong Kong and other, you know, markets. So the other countries are actually searching for new markets. It will define, it will also give new avenues to global markets. New trend is going to be there as far as because of this trade tensions. So with all its manifestations, I believe that even the people of United States of America, they are panicky, and they are also raising questions against its own government and against its policies, that if it is carried on like this, it is hitting the most to the Americans. See, the world is challenged with lots of deficit when it comes to governance, when it comes to peace, when it comes to development. But what America is contributing? America is not contributing at all. Rather, America has become an irritant for the world development. According to 2017 WTO rules, United States of America has proved to be the most unruly state which is not complying the rules and regulation of World Trade Organization. And it has done violations which is 2/3 of its nature.
President Trump also jacked up its duty rates on $200 billion tranche of Chinese imports. So that was another recent thing that, made the Chinese side very upset. So these kind of different measures that he's been taking are basically added to all the hostilities, like you're talking about WTO rules and other, okay, they've been breaching those. These kind of measures don't exactly help either, right?
Well, in the trade war, there is, nobody is a winner, because it is going to harm not only China, but the rest of the states as well, the rest of the markets and the companies. And we know that this is the world of MNCs, a lot of multinational companies, they do their business, they come under this whole concept of economic globalization or the global market. So it is not only harming China, because China has a lot of other alternatives and avenues, because China is coming up with new trends when it comes to its economy. And why China is rising? Because of its innovation, because of its openness to the market. So China would not be, would not be an effectee.
China could respond in kind by boycotting, say, Apple or Boeing. Those are things that they could have also done in response. But luckily now the trade talks.
When I have been frequently, discussing this with the Chinese officials sometimes, and they always come up with such kind of responses that they are ready to, carry on with this kind of trade war, but definitely it is not in the best interest of China, and definitely it is not in the best interest of the other countries.
Thank you so much, Yasir Masood. Today we had a bit of a shorter time period, so thank you so much for joining us for this discussion.